Before we move on, let's talk for a moment about a tuning principle that some people find contentious. Widespread use of tape to tune holes became popular in the 1950s and 60s. Some pipers oppose the use of tape because they feel it's not traditional. In fact, before adhesive tapes were available, pipers tuned chanter holes by putting tuning wax inside the top of the hole, or by wrapping thread or string or even leather around the chanter to cover part of the hole. Some people believe tape shouldn't be necessary if you have properly matched the right reed with the right chanter. Ideally, this is true, but in reality, the perfect combination is extremely rare, and even then, a simple change in temperature or humidity will probably cause one or two notes of the chanter to go out of tune. My experience is that most people who oppose the use of tape on principle tend to play with a couple of chanter notes out of tune. Personally, I'm for playing with every note in tune and will use any means at my disposal to achieve this. Now let's get back to our scenarios. Here's another possibility. I tune my drone to low A, and let's say that I find E is nicely in tune with the drone. But C gets better when I underblow or flatten it. In other words, C is sharp. Well, that's pretty close to the problem we had before, except C is sharp instead of E. Apply a piece of tape to the C this time. About the same amount as you put on the E before. Retest and adjust the position of the tape as required. Here's another scenario. Let's say I have my low A, high A octave correct, but I find both C and E to be flat compared to the low A. What now? Tape cannot sharpen a note. There is no way to sharpen an individual note short of gouging out the hole with a knife, and we probably don't need to do that. What I would do here is push the reed a bit further into the reed seat to sharpen the C and E so they are in tune with the low A. This will work, but it will also have the effect of making the high A sharper. But let's try it anyway. Pushing the reed in further should fix the C and E, but will make the high A sharp. What do you do? Right. You put a little piece of tape across the top of the high A hole, like this. I'll test again and fine-tune this tape until I get my low A, high A octave right. Now, let's say as I fine-tune my high A, I ended up with nearly half the hole covered with tape. Maybe like this. When this much of a hole is taped, the corresponding note will lose some of its volume and quality, and we don't want that. So what's the lesson here? Very simply, this may not be the right reed for your chanter. You may wish to try another. One more scenario. Let's say that I find both C and E to be sharp compared to the low A. I have a choice. I can put tape on both the C and the E, or I can lift the reed out of the reed seat a bit. However, that will probably make my high A flat. So what I'll do is I'll put some tape on the C and E, like this. I'll test these again against the drone and make some fine-tuning adjustments. Now, let's say after I did my fine-tuning, I found I had huge slabs of tape on the C and the E. maybe like this. Well, again, maybe this is the wrong reed for this chanter. You may in fact find that all reeds by a certain reed maker exhibit extremes like this when paired with your chanter. This is not unusual. Over time, you will discover specific makes of reed that suit your chanter best. Ask around. See what kinds of reeds other players successfully play in your make of chanter. Now, if every make of reed you put into your chanter has the same fault, maybe a flat high A or an extremely sharp C, the problem could be your chanter. If a note is chronically sharp, you may just have to live with a large piece of tape on that note all the time. If a note is chronically flat, you can enlarge or undercut the hole using appropriate tools. We'll talk more about this in the workshop section at the end of this video. In most cases, you should be able to get the A arpeggio notes, A, C, E, and high A, in tune with each other by changing the position of the reed in the reed seat by using a bit of tape or both.